When I was 24 years old, I was 30 grand in debt in my mom's basement. I felt so out of place reading anything on investing or money, let alone building wealth. But now, a decade later, I'm so glad I did, because it's books like the 5 I'll give you that truly did change my financial life. Smash the like button. I'll give you the big idea from each in this video, and there's a link down below if you want all 50 books that changed my life as a free guide for hopping on our newsletter. All right, here's book number 1. The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. Big idea from this book: no one is crazy. Your experience with money probably makes up 0.0000001% of what has actually happened, but probably 80% of how we think the world works. So take the example, if you were born in 1970 and you looked at the S&P 500 of stocks, it went up nearly tenfold in your teens and 20s. If you were born in that decade, you'd walk away thinking, wow, stocks only go up. But compare that to if you had been born 20 years earlier in the 50s, where the stock market barely moved in your teens and 20s when you were impressionable. The natural conclusion would probably be stocks don't do anything. They're overrated. The point is that these events influence drastically how we think about money and what we do with it in the future. Even take something as recent as crypto. In our lifetime, we've seen it go up and do crazy numbers. And if you saw your friends or family make tons of money in it, you probably have a different view than if you were plugged into the NFT craze. It makes sense if you think crypto is sketchy if you saw someone lose 90% of what they put in on some ape JPEG. I'm someone who grew up in a house where my dad was investing in stocks, and we weren't really a real estate family, couldn't tell you much about it. And then when I became of age, I started investing in stocks because that's what I felt most comfortable with. But even now, as I reflect on why I have most of my money in stocks instead of real estate, I could give you all these reasons, but most of it really comes down to how I was raised and my experience of what I saw. Now, maybe you're someone who's like, well, dude, I wasn't raised with good role models, or like, I'm new to all this. I didn't have someone investing in stocks growing up. The good news is what this book talks about, that nobody is crazy. And the thing that influences your money the most, beyond luck, beyond how smart you are, is behavior. Or this book summed up in one sentence: doing well with money has a little to do with how smart you are and everything to do with how you behave. All right, this next book I remember reading because I took it on tour and all my bandmates ragged on me. I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. And it was the running joke on tour because we'd go out to like a Buffalo Wild Wings and they're like, oh, hey guys, this one's on Clark. He's rich, remember? But I have recommended it for 8 years on this channel because I think it teaches systems and the practical side of personal finance better than anything out there. I'll give you my 2 favorite big ideas from this guy. The first is focus on big wins with your money. You've probably heard the common advice: you should look at your spending and cut back. Those $10 subscriptions, add up to $120 a year. Or don't buy coffee outside, make it at home and save $5 a day. And the intentions behind that are well-meaning, but there's always a limit to how much you can cut out. Plus, we're also talking quality of life. Like, what if you're someone who loves and looks forward to coffee and you get a lot from it? But what doesn't get enough limelight is the big wins. What are big wins in your life? It's things like negotiating your salary. That one conversation can be an extra $5,000 or $10,000 a year. Or it's not taking an expensive car payment, which the average one in the US is like over $500 a month. That's a $6,000 a year decision right there. But the second big point I love from this book, and really the main thing in here, is one word: automation. He recommends the day you get paid, setting up a system so that you don't have to think about where your money's going. So he says the day money hits your account from your paycheck, it splits into 4 areas: your 401k, your Roth IRA, your sub savings accounts for things like an emergency fund or vacation or a house, and then your bills that get auto paid. Whatever is left after that is guilt-free spending. I think this book is super practical. I love the automation focus that it has, and for those reasons, I recommend it. All right, so we just spoke about the power of automation with your finances, but what I think is even more important is automation with your work. so you're not stuck doing boring, repetitive tasks. That's why I'm so excited to share with you today's sponsor, Zapier. I have personally used Zapier for over 6 years. In fact, when I ran a coaching program, it saved my butt from being stuck behind a spreadsheet, copy and pasting, and doing all these manual tasks that eat up your valuable time. And what I love about Zapier is the customization options. Now you can go as crazy as you want and set up workflows that are very complex, or as simple as you want. In fact, 80% of my automations were just 2 steps, and even that saved me hours every single week. They even have a cool feature where you can talk and describe what you're trying to do, and it'll help you build it out for you. So if you want to learn more and join the 3.4 million other companies already automating with Zapier and transform how you work with Zapier and AI, you can get started for free by visiting zapier.com/Kegley. That's zapier.com/Kegley. All right, here's the next book. The next book is The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. This book is so simple, it could fit on a little index card with just 3 bullets. The first is get out of debt and avoid it. The second is spend less than you make. And the third is invest the rest in index funds. He likes index funds because he says you can't pick winning stocks, even if you think you can, that even the best traders, historically over hundreds of years can't beat the index and what it averages out. So next up is a book that's a bit of a beefcake, but if you're willing to make it through, I think is some of the best material out there for more intermediate to advanced investors with personal finance. That is Tony Robbins' Money Master the Game. And a lot of it is interviews with hedge fund managers or people who are billionaires. I'll simplify it down into 2 big ideas that stuck with me from this book. Winter always turns to spring. That is the idea of seasons with investing. So a lot of people see the fear, uncertainty, or doubts in current events, things like wars or pandemics that affect stock prices, and they panic. And that's really true if your viewpoint is 1 week, 1 month, or 1 year. But when you zoom out, since the history of the stock market, there has always been a recovery. This is it after World War II, and then here it is, fully recovered. Flash forward to the 2008 recession, this is what it looked like, and then there's a recovery. More recent times, here's COVID-19, and there was a big dip, but then zoom out enough and you see it recover. If it's a crash, a depression, a war, a bubble pop, yes, there's a dip, but it always bounces back bigger, up and to the right. But I think the biggest idea I took from Tony, he was the first person that really opened my eyes when I was 16, 17 years old to the power of compounding. The way Tony described it is a round of golf. So let's just say you and I go out and we're playing an 18-hole round of golf. So we say, okay, to make it fun, let's put some money behind this. So we bet a dime a hole. And we say that's not much, so let's double it every hole to make it fun. And at first, that doesn't seem like much because holes 1 is 10 cents, 2 is 20 cents, hole 3, it's only 40 cents. How bad can it be? By hole 9, it's only around 25 bucks. But here's where it gets massive. Hole number 17 is over $6,000 a hole, and hole number 18 is over $13,000. That's how compounding works. The front 9 seems like nothing, and the back 9 is where all the gains are. Take the example of Warren Buffett, considered the best investor in our time, if not history. He's 95 years old at the time I'm recording this video and worth an estimated $146 billion. But what people don't understand is that he has been investing since he was 10 years old. By the time he was 30, he had already amassed a net worth over $1 million. Adjust for today's inflation, that's over 9.3 million. Dude's an absolute savage. But what's crazier is 134 billion of his 146 billion came after his 65th birthday. And there's people who say that had he waited to start till he was 30 or 40 years old, it's a good chance we might not have heard of him. The compounding for him kicked in his later years, and that's where he built his fortune. So for those 2 reasons, I love this book. It's dense, but worth it if you're into personal finance. So we spoke about Warren Buffett, but a lot of people don't give as much credit to his business partner of 50 years, Charlie Munger. And this book is Poor Charlie's Almanac. It's a bit of his life story, but then there's 11 talks that he gave for like keynote speeches or graduations or to investors about how he thinks. They're more on his mental models that he uses to make the decisions that led to all those billions of dollars. And so I'll give you a couple here that I took away and loved. The first is the principle of inversion. Inversion is, instead of going after how do I get X, you say, how do I get non-X? So in the context of life, how do I get happy? That's what everyone goes after. Like, how do I be happy? You know, pursuit of happiness. But he says, what if you flip it and say, how do I maintain misery the rest of my life? You could probably write that on a card. You know, get sucked into addictions or bad habits. Don't prioritize your sleep. Make sure you don't have any friends or family around you. You know, we could go down the list. It'd be pretty easy. In the same way, he says that a lot of people go after, how do I get rich? But if you flip it and say, how do I stay poor? You can learn a lot. You'd probably overreact when the markets are falling. You would not invest. You'd stay on the sidelines. You'd go into speculative stocks that are a 1 in a million chance of breaking big. So you can do that for any area of life. I love the principle of inversion. I think that's a fun one that you can play around with if you're ever stuck. The second big idea I took away from this is the concept of value investing. And what that is, put simply, is you look for companies that everyone's sleeping on. So you think that the core fundamentals of Coca-Cola are so strong and everyone else doesn't see it yet, but you see something in their fundamentals and you can sort of predict where they're going because they're a good company. Now, this is not me saying go buy Apple or go buy any individual stock for that matter. Going back to Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett famously said, when he dies, he's leaving his wife 90% of his net worth in index funds. Not individual stocks, index funds, so they can ride the average. Which for me, as I get older, that is more my strategy, not individual stocks, but index funds. I just love this for the mental models, and especially if you're business oriented, you'll get a lot from those talks. And those are the 5 books I would recommend. So big smash on the like button if you made it this far, subscribe if you're not down below, do a lot of videos like this on books, and I'll link up one right here. It's a perfect follow-up on 5 books if you're looking to be smarter. Okay, so these are some of my favorites in this style on that. I'll see you there. Thanks so much for being here. Stop settling, start living. Peace.